Before you can arrive anywhere in life, you have to know exactly where you're going. That's rule number one. You don't get in the car, start the engine, and just drive aimlessly, hoping you'll end up somewhere great. No, you type in the address, you put in the coordinates, you set the destination. And too many of us are out here grinding without clarity, hustling without vision, waking up every day with no real understanding of where we're trying to go. That's why we burn out. That's why we get distracted. That's why we start things and never finish them. Because if the destination isn't set, you're guaranteed to drift. You're guaranteed to get lost. You're guaranteed to mistake motion for progress. See, I need you to understand something powerful. Clarity is the fuel for consistency. When you know where you're going, you'll stop giving energy to anything that doesn't get you closer. When the destination is crystal clear in your mind, your behavior starts aligning with that vision. You stop wasting time. You stop entertaining drama. You stop chasing validation. Why? Because you know where you're going, and anything that doesn't help you get there becomes a distraction. You don't have time to be everywhere doing everything when you're locked in on something. You move different when you have clarity. You walk into rooms different. You talk different. You prioritize different. You grind different, and let's keep it real. Most people don't have a success problem, they have a direction problem. They got all the tools, all the talent, all the potential, but they're wandering through life hoping something just clicks. Hoping opportunity knocks, hoping luck finds them, but let me tell you, hope is not a strategy, wandering is not a plan. You need to choose where you're going and then build your life around that choice. That's how you unlock the GPS of success. That's how you stop being reactive and start being intentional. That's how you stop letting life happen to you and start taking control of your path. When you lock in your destination, really lock it in, it does something to your spirit. It ignites that fire, it gives meaning to the pain, it gives context to the challenges, because now you know every sacrifice has a purpose. Every setback is part of the process. Every early morning and late night is a step in the direction of your dream. And that's when success starts becoming inevitable. Not because it's easy, not because it's handed to you, but because you refuse to quit, you refuse to drift. You refuse to settle until you reach that destination you set from the jump. You can't let life decide your future. You have to decide it. You have to visualize it so clearly that it becomes embedded in your thoughts, your conversations, your actions, your choices. You gotta wake up every morning with that destination screaming in your mind. You gotta look at your habits and ask, does this move me closer or pull me further? You gotta build your environment, your circle, your schedule all around that end goal. Because if it's not aligned, it's a distraction. And distractions cost destiny, distractions kill dreams. Success starts with a decision, a bold, clear, uncompromising decision. When your destination is clear, the confusion fades, the fear weakens, the excuses disappear. Because now you have something powerful, direction. You've made the shift from wandering to walking with purpose. You've gone from dreaming about it to moving toward it. You've gone from maybe to must. And everything changes when success goes from optional to non-negotiable. Failure doesn't mean you're finished. It means it's time to reroute. It means the plan needs adjusting, not the purpose. See, most people treat failure like a final destination, like it's the end of the road, like the GPS just shut off and said game over. But champions don't stop when the route gets blocked. They recalculate. They shift, they pivot. They find another way because the mission is still alive. The destination hasn't changed, only the road to get there. You ever miss a turn on your GPS? What happens? It don't panic. It don't yell at you. It don't give up and say, well, guess we're never getting there. Nah, it calmly says recalculating and it finds another way. That's how success works. That's how you gotta work. Life is gonna hit you with roadblocks, setbacks, losses, betrayals, rejection. But you don't fold, you don't park, you don't retreat. You breathe, you lock in, and you recalculate. because failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of the route. Let me tell you something. Every champion you admire has been through some kind of failure, but they didn't retreat, they rerouted. They stayed committed to the destination even when the journey got messy. They kept driving with no guarantee other than their belief, and that belief became their breakthrough. Most people stop too soon. Most people throw in the towel when things get inconvenient, but you gotta be different. You gotta understand that setbacks are setups, that detours build discipline, that rejection sharpens resilience. This world will test your commitment. It will test your vision. And every failure is asking you the same question. How bad do you want it? Because if you only want it when it's convenient, you'll quit. If you only want it when it's comfortable, you'll never grow. But if you're willing to recalculate, willing to adapt, willing to grind through the detours, you'll keep moving forward even when it hurts. That's what separates the great from the average. The great ones don't see failure as defeat. They see it as data. They learn from it, they grow from it, they upgrade their mindset with every wrong turn, and when your GPS of success is locked in, you don't panic when the route changes, you stay calm, you stay focused. You trust the process, because you know the goal hasn't changed, only the path. You stop measuring progress by perfection and start measuring it by perseverance. That's the mindset that wins. That's the mindset that dominates. That's the mindset that turns failure into fuel. There's a voice inside you that knows where you're meant to go. It's been there since day one, whispering directions, warning you of wrong turns, pulling you toward greatness, even when no one else sees it. That voice, that's your intuition. That's your internal GPS. That's the signal of your purpose, and too many people ignore it because the world is loud. The critics are loud. The doubts are loud. But real ones learn to trust the whisper. Real ones learn to turn down the world and tune into their soul. You weren't built with intuition by accident. It's not some spiritual fluff, it's your inner compass. When you tap into it, when you really listen, it leads you straight into the calling on your life. But the problem is, you've been listening to everybody else. Teachers told you what you should be. Friends told you what's realistic. Family told you what's safe, and now you're living somebody else's idea of your life, feeling lost, unfulfilled, stuck, because you've muted the one voice that actually knows the way. Your voice. See, intuition doesn't shout. It don't fight for attention. It speaks in moments of silence, in moments of honesty, in moments when your heart's beating faster and your hands are sweating and everything in you is saying, "This is it. Go, now." But you've got to be present enough to hear it. You've got to be bold enough to follow it, because intuition will not always make sense to the logical mind. It will not always look smart on paper, but it will feel right in your spirit, and that feeling, that alignment, that's the proof, and make no mistake. It takes courage to follow your intuition when the world says play it safe. It takes strength to trust the invisible when everyone else needs a blueprint. It takes faith to walk a path that nobody else sees, but that's what leaders do. That's what trailblazers do. That's what successful people do. They follow the voice within, not because it's easy, but because it's right. And once you start doing that, doors open, resources appear, opportunities align, not because you forced it, but because you followed it. Don't ignore that voice just because it scares you. That fear is confirmation. That fear means you're getting close to something real. You weren't born to follow the crowd. You were born to lead your own journey, and you can't lead with doubt. You can't lead with fear. You lead with faith. With trust, with that deep knowing that says, this is my path, even if no one else understands it. So many people are asking others for directions to places those people have never been. You scrolling for motivation, asking for advice, waiting for permission. But everything you need is already inside you. It's built in, hardwired. You just have to trust it. That instinct you keep second, guessing. That passion you keep putting off. That dream that won't die, that's the voice, that's the signal, and the longer you ignore it, the more lost you'll feel. Because success can only come when you're aligned with purpose, and purpose can only be found when you're brave enough to follow that internal GPS. You don't just set the GPS once and expect to arrive. You stay connected the whole way. The same is true with success. You can't just dream it once, speak it once, write it down once and expect it to manifest. You've got to lock in every single day, because success ain't about a moment of hype, it's about a lifestyle of discipline. It's about consistency when the motivation fades. It's about showing up when nobody's clapping, when nobody's watching, when nobody's validating. You grind anyway. You build anyway. You stay focused anyway. Daily discipline is the signal strength that keeps your GPS working. You lose discipline, you lose direction. You lose focus, you start drifting. And the crazy thing is, most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they lack alignment. They disconnect from their purpose. They stop checking in with the source. They stop doing the little things daily that keep the big vision alive. See, the small habits, the boring routines, the early mornings, the late nights, the structure, the sacrifice. That's the software update for your internal GPS. That's what keeps it locked on the target. You want to win. You want to dominate. You better be more committed to your routine than your emotions, because some days you won't feel like it. Some days you'll be tired, discouraged, frustrated, but the destination hasn't changed. The dream hasn't changed. So why should your discipline? You've got to be a professional about your purpose. You've got to be obsessed with staying aligned. That means checking in with your goals daily. That means protecting your mindset, feeding your spirit, guarding your energy like your life depends on it. Because it does. Discipline isn't a punishment, it's a lifeline. It's the thing that pulls you out of chaos and back into clarity. It's what separates dreamers from doers, talkers from walkers. It's easy to get hype for a week, but discipline, that's what keeps you locked in for years. That's what makes the GPS stay live and active through every storm, every setback, every detour. Because storms will come. Distractions will try to knock you off course. Life will hit you with updates you didn't ask for. But if your discipline is strong, your direction stays strong. You stay rooted. You stay grounded. You keep moving with intention. And let me tell you, discipline don't come from feelings. It comes from decisions. You decide to be consistent. You decide to honor your routine. You decide to show up, no matter how you feel. That's what powerful people do. That's what successful people do. They don't wait to be motivated. They train themselves to move without it. That's what separates the committed from the casual. That's what makes the difference between a goal and a lifestyle. You want to arrive at the destination you set, then make daily discipline non-negotiable. Make it your default, make it your identity, because when discipline becomes who you are, success becomes where you're going automatically. Everybody's got an opinion, but not everybody has your vision. And if you let the noise of the world drown out the voice of your purpose, you will live your whole life following somebody else's route. Somebody who's never even been where you're trying to go. The truth is, most people are trying to give you directions from their fear, not from your future. They project their limits onto your calling. They tell you what's realistic, what's safe, what's smart, but they don't know what God put inside of you. They don't know what you were built for. They don't know what you've sacrificed. So why would you let them guide you? Success requires tunnel vision. It requires the discipline to silence everything that doesn't align with where you're headed. And I mean everything. The doubts, the criticism, the fake praise, the distractions on social media, the negative voices around you, and especially the ones inside your own head. You've got to develop noise, canceling focus. The kind of focus that says, I don't need you to understand my journey. I don't need you to believe in my dream. I believe in it enough for both of us. Most people never make it, not because they didn't have the talent, not because they didn't have the opportunity, but because they were too busy trying to please the crowd instead of chasing their calling. They traded their future for applause. They traded their purpose for popularity. But let me tell you something. If everybody's clapping, you probably ain't climbing. If everybody's comfortable with your journey, you're probably not doing anything extraordinary. Because greatness always disrupts comfort zones and it always threatens the small-minded, your GPS is set, your destination is clear, so why would you keep stopping to ask people for directions who have never been where you're going? That's like asking a passenger how to drive when you've got the map in your hands. You've got the vision, you've got the fire, you've got the hunger, now you've got to protect it at all costs. That means cutting off voices that don't build you. That means creating boundaries around your mind, your time, your energy. That means being okay with being misunderstood, being okay with walking alone, being okay with looking crazy for a season, so you can live uncommon for a lifetime. You are not obligated to explain your purpose to people who don't have the capacity to understand it. You are not here to fit into their version of success. You are here to fulfill your assignment, and that requires boldness. That requires mental toughness. That requires the courage to look around and say, I respect you, but I can't let you reroute me. I hear you, but I don't answer to your fear. I see the risk, but I see the reward too. The moment you stop living for applause and start living for alignment is the moment everything shifts. That's when you stop drifting and start driving. That's when you stop surviving and start thriving. Not because the noise disappeared, but because you finally chose to mute it. Because you finally chose to take the wheel, trust the GPS inside you, and move forward. Unapologetically. Life will change the map on you mid-journey. You'll be driving steady, focused, locked in. And out of nowhere, the road gets blocked. The weather shifts, the signal drops, and what do most people do? They panic. They freeze. They throw the dream away because the path got hard. But champions don't fold when the map changes. Champions reroute. Champions adjust. Champions don't let the obstacle change the outcome. They let it refine their route. That's what resilience is. It's not about having the perfect plan, it's about having the mindset to adapt when the plan falls apart. Success isn't a straight line. It's messy. It's wild. It's unpredictable. You'll lose people you thought would ride with you forever. You'll outgrow environments you once loved. You'll take steps that don't make sense until later, and that's okay. The journey was never supposed to be easy. It was supposed to build you. It was supposed to develop that inner toughness, that ability to keep moving forward no matter what life throws at you. And that only happens when you embrace the detours, when you stop waiting for the road to be smooth and start becoming the driver who can handle anything. See, it's not enough to have goals. Everybody's got goals. What separates the winners is how they respond when the route changes. Do you complain? Do you quit? Or do you lock in, reprogram your mind, and reroute? Real growth happens when the original plan fails. That's when the grind becomes personal. That's when you discover what you're really made of. Because talk is easy when everything's working. But character is revealed when everything's breaking. And make no mistake, life will test your GPS. It'll throw storms at your progress. It'll test your patience, your endurance, your faith. But you were built for that. You were built to bounce back. You were built to improvise, adapt, and overcome. You're not here to be perfect. You're here to finish. You're here to keep moving when others stop. You're here to outlast the setbacks, outthink the obstacles, outwork the excuses. That's resilience. That's championship mentality. Every detour is an opportunity to develop a new level of grit, a new level of grind, a new level of gratitude, because sometimes the road less traveled is the one that shows you what you're really capable of. You've got to trust that even when the route changes, the destination is still possible. You've got to believe that no delay is permanent, no failure is final, and no obstacle is bigger than your drive. You reroute because the mission still matters. You adjust because quitting was never an option. You endure because greatness demands flexibility and fire. When others break down, you build up. When others sit still, you shift gears. Because you know the truth. Setbacks don't stop success, stagnation does. You've got to be fluid, you've got to be focused, and most of all, you've got to be relentless. That's what champions do when life changes the map. They don't just find a way, they make one.